Today's webinar is on building a business with CADCUTdirect. Our special guest presenter is Josh Ellsworth with CADCUTdirect, and I will be your moderator today. My name is Dana Curtis. We'll start off today's presentation while we wait for others to arrive with some polls. And so I'd first like to ask the audience, do you currently own a Roland? And if you could click yes or no, I'll leave the poll open for a little bit so we can try and get everybody. So it looks like our audience is mostly Roland owners, which is a positive because Josh is very familiar with our products, specifically the cutters, and I am the cutter product manager, so we're all together today. For those of you that don't own a Roland product, perhaps this could help convince you to look into our technology. However, I think what Josh is going to cover is not necessarily Roland specific. We're just gearing it towards those of you that own Rolands. Our next poll is, do you own a heat press? And I'll wait a little bit for a chance to answer that question. It looks like everybody's got one. So I hope that helps with our presenter to give him an idea of who our audience are and what your needs are, perhaps why you joined us today. So most of you own a Roland and all of you own a heat press, which is good news. So that was our quick poll. I will minimize our screen here, and I will pass control of the screen over to Josh to let him begin his presentation. Without further ado, I give you Josh Ellsworth of CADCUTdirect.
Thanks, Dana, and thanks to Roland for having me on today, and for all of you for showing up to attend Building a Business with Stahls CADCUTdirect. And I'm really excited for the presentation today, especially because we have 100% of the audience today that owns a heat press. So I can pretty much skip my pitch on everybody needs to own a heat press, and here's why. And now we're going to show you exactly how to put your Roland output device and heat press to work, and how to really make a business out of these two pieces of equipment. Throughout the presentation today, as Dana had mentioned, feel free to type in questions. I like to stop throughout the presentation and answer questions, or if we get on a roll here, we'll just save them all to the end. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. And for those of you that own a Roland device, you're pretty familiar with the workflow, but I'll speak to the 11% that does not have a Roland device. And the basics of the CAD-CUT workflow is this. You are going to cut your design, as you see in the bottom corner here. Load your heat transfer film or CAD-CUT materials into your vinyl cutter with the heat activated adhesive side up, which is what you see face up here down in the cutter. Program your artwork, whether it's in Roland Cut Studio, CorelDRAW, Adobe Illustrator. There's some free design programs from Stahls like CADWorks Live. But create your art, send it to the cutter, and it cuts out the design. Now, for CAD-CUT materials, you always want to cut your material in a mirror image. So just simply reverse it in the software before output. Once it's cut, you're going to take your weeding tool, tweezers, X-Acto knife, whatever you utilize, and remove the excess material. Now, the way CAD-CUT's manufactured, and I should mention that Stahls manufactures CAD-CUT materials, and that's a lot of the products we'll show today. It's manufactured with the heat-activated adhesive, which is laminated or extruded onto a polyurethane or PVC film, and then that's all together laminated down to a carrier sheet. So the cool thing is, when you cut your design, you're actually just programming the cutter in such a way that it's kiss cutting through the adhesive and the film, but not through the liner. So when you pull all the excess away, we have a perfectly positioned pre-spaced design that's ready to be flipped over and heat transferred onto a garment with commercial-grade heat printing equipment for best durability. And that's the last step in the process, which is heat it. So as you see in the picture here, we're positioning the design down. This happens to be a reflective film that we've cut and prepared for application. and we're going to position that and heat print it onto a safety vest, which meets retroreflective standards for roadside work crews, etc. So throughout this presentation, we'll focus a lot on the heat transfer films. We'll talk about different applications that you can execute with films, with your cutter and with your heat press, and specifically some hot-selling, trending materials that you probably want to pick up and add to your arsenal for decorating. But before we get to that, we need to talk about the basic math for this workflow for CAD-CUT materials. And when we talk about technology sets, and you just imagine yourself on a trade show floor with different vendors, you have heat printing, which is inclusive of the CAD-CUT workflow, print cut, sublimation, screen printed transfers, a lot of different things. Then you also have a complete other technology set, which is direct embroidery. You have applique, you have screen printing, you have direct-to-garment printing. So there's a lot of different tools, if you will, in your tool belt that you can use to accommodate a customer's orders. And really you want to figure out as best as you can, how does CAD-CUT or heat transfer film fit in to that toolbox. And so with that in mind, let's take a look at just a basic design here. I'll just take this left chest logo as a good example, which is cut out of whatever heat applied film you want to call it. Doesn't really matter. It's all pretty relative as far as cost. So if I take that design and I estimate something like a 4-inch by 4-inch design and figure out what that costs me in heat transfer film to create, really I need to calculate waste and a lot of other things in, but just a simple square inch calculation of roughly a penny a square inch will tell me that's going to cost me about 16 cents to create with the heat transfer film workflow. Now I'll have some labor in there with weeding and heat applying, and I'll get more into that later by showing you a cost calculator. But ultimately I'm just trying to get a ballpark gauge of what it costs me to create this graphic and put it onto this polo shirt. And let's compare that briefly to screen printing. Simple single color design. If I'm going to set up to screen print that particular piece of art, I'm only going to have to burn one screen. But for anybody that's screen printing out there, you know that the cost of a screen can be anywhere from $15 to $20. So let's just say I take a basic screen print cost of a $15 setup to burn a screen and divide that. Let's say the run is for 10 pieces for this small business. That's going to, let's see, if I take $15 divided by 10 pieces, I get basically $1.50 in design just for burning the screen alone, let alone setting it up, washing out the screens, etc. The labor component's out of it. I'm just taking a basic screen charge versus a basic square inch charge. So let's say this cost me $1.50 per piece. There's somewhere on the curve that these two prices are going to meet, and it's usually based on quantity and number of colors. So what I'm trying to say to you is if you do a basic math exercise when a job comes through your door, you can quickly decide whether you should be screen printing this design, ordering screen printed transfers for this design, or cutting this design. Typically jobs that are low to mid-size quantities or that include personalization, you should always be leveraging the CAD-CUT workflow. And as costs of heat transfer materials come down with direct from manufacturer models like ours, that number starts to go up. So it becomes cost effective to do 48-piece jobs with CAD-CUT over screen printing. Once again, you need to complete the exercise for each piece of art based on the size of the design, the number of colors, and the complexity, whether or not it's something you want to complete the weeding process with. So that's basic mathematics for custom cut designs on a roll and cutter. With that, there's also a whole other category. I had to erase my drawings there so I could go to the next slide. But there's the lettering and numbering of athletic uniforms, which is a huge market for roll and vinyl cutters and heat presses and what you're able to accomplish. And I always like to include this a little bit separate from the calculation for custom designs, because there's a tool that's available to you which is called Precut Numbers that really drives your costs down. And let me explain to you exactly what that means. If you look at this particular combo on the bottom here, where you have the name and the number. Of course, you can cut that combination yourself on a roll-in vinyl cutter. You're going to, utilize for an 8-inch number and a 2-inch name with a 1-inch gap space, you're probably going to utilize about a 15 by 15-inch area of material to create that design, and you're going to pay for every square inch of material you utilize. That's fine. If you have custom fonts, special effect films that aren't available in Precut Numbers, that's the way to do it. Cut your combination. It's all pre-spaced. You just lay it out and press it. But for those of you that cut everything, meaning you cut varsity font, Pro Block, basic fonts that are available in Precut Numbers from Stahls, there's a more cost-effective way. You can actually order in these numbers pre-cut for you in kits. And let's say you want to stock white, black, red, royal blue. There's 5 to 7 typical athletic colors that you can stock up on in a varsity font and effectively lower your cost for the numbering portion of this design. The most cost-effective way to decorate team uniforms with CAD-CUT heat transfer films is to leverage that roll-in vinyl cutter to cut your name bars out of the font that matches your pre-cut numbers that you order from Stahls. There's absolutely no less expensive way when you're talking about combinations of names and numbers. Of course, you can screen print numbers, but when you start to get into names, it gets complicated, and that's where the roll-in cutter really comes in handy, matching them with pre-cut numbers. So that's some of the math there, and I know I'm going quickly. We got a lot of slides to get through, but please, if you have questions, just go ahead and type them in there. Let's keep moving here. Sorry, I need to extend out my question box so I can read. Okay, something I do want to reference for those of us that don't have heat presses and vinyl cutters, and we did get quite a few attendees on since we started here. We have some special packages for those of you that attended this session, and those are good through the end of the week. I want to highlight some of the things the roll-in cutter can do. Heat transfer film, which is the thrust of the presentation today. Of course, it can cut sign vinyl. This particular GX24 can cut tackle tool materials, which is really big if you have direct embroidery capability in-house. You can also cut rhinestone templates, contour cutting around printed images because it has an optic eye, so it has a lot of versatility, and we're only going to focus on one part of it, which should be sufficient business to pay off the unit and the heat press. This week at Stahls, we're doing $1,688 plus 20 yards of material, free blade, and free weeding tool, and you'll see all types of materials that you can pick from today. And likewise, we have a package on heat presses, which is capable of heat pressing all of the things mentioned above, as well as sublimation, curing DTG prints, doing the foil step-on screen printing, and much, much more. Heat presses is the most versatile piece of equipment in your shop, as those of you who own one know. And this week we're doing the list price of the machines. This is a price on a Hottronics Fusion press, free shipping, and 3 free platens, which is basically our trade show special for anybody that attends this presentation. And so you can shop our heat presses online at stahls.com and get the free shipping and 3 free platens if you just call into our customer service line and tell them you were in on the webinar. Okay. Now let's talk specifically about different markets for heat printing work for CAD-CUT. And the first one we'll talk about is sports. One of our most popular products, actually the best seller, is called CAD-CUT Thermofilm. This particular material, you should put it on your list for contact sports. You see, we're focusing on football here, but this can be lacrosse, rugby, hockey, any number of sports where the athletic lettering is going to meet abrasion. Thermofilm is 190 micron thick film, which is pretty thick. It's rugged, it's durable, it's geared towards athletic lettering. So if you're looking for something that is tough and will stand up to contact sports, you should try Thermofilm. Also, for those of you decorating a lot of polyester garments in the sports market, you know with polyester, you run the risk of dye migration if you have unstable dyes in the fabric. Thermofilm kind of acts like a low bleed ink, to take a screen printing reference, in that it inhibits dye migration. So it does a really nice job with that. Here's just a couple other photos of thermofilm, and this is a good example where we've applied die cut numbers. I think this is a 10-inch varsity on the back of the jersey with a 2-inch name bar, and then on the front of the jersey we did the 8-inch numbers and a 1-inch team name across. And you'll just want to reference legal sizes for numbers required sizes for decorating high school jerseys, which can be found on nfhs.org. You can also get creative with thermofilm, so you don't just have to be basic numbering. Here we've incorporated a reflective element by cutting 3M reflective material on the cutter, heat pressing it on top of the shoulders, and also heat pressing it as the name and the background layer on the number. With heat transfer films, you can combine layer on layer, and with our products, we give you a technical application sheet that will explain to you the time, temperature, and pressure to apply each material and how to do multicolor combos by mixing and matching different material. There's few restrictions on what can't be layered. Typically, there's a couple glitter materials and foil-like materials that can't be used as bottom layers, and that's about the only limitation. If you want to get into lightweight fabrics, so let's just say it's not a contact sport, but more performance wear, stretch fabrics, maybe even basketball jerseys, we have a product called CAD-CUT Premium Plus that is really lightweight. It's about 85 to 90 microns, so that's half of the thickness of thermofilm. It's also very pliable and highly stretchable. So this is the product like what you see on like the NFL players' jerseys at the NFL Combine when they're training in the Under Armour garments. This shows you another application for it would be to go approach volleyball teams where they wear the fitted stretch jerseys, or simple compression base layer garments for any sport really. It's really popular with all types of sports where they're wearing the base layer. And these garments are available, compression garments are available from a number of suppliers, from Teamwork Athletic to A4, Badger Sportswear. I'm sure I'm leaving some out, but there's a large list of suppliers that you can get on any industry website, such as Impressions Magazine, something like that. Once again, you're seeing CAD-CUT Premium Plus on this lightweight basketball jersey, where it's very light on the athlete as he's playing. You know, Premium Plus is something I wouldn't recommend on like a football jersey because of the contact and abrasion. That's why we recommend thermofilm, but Premium Plus for lightweight fabrics, for kind of finesse sports, it's a perfect product. And just because it's not resistant to abrasion doesn't mean that it won't withstand the agitation in the wash. So 95% of our heat transfer films are lab certified for durability, which means 50+ washings, washing and dry cycles. Okay, so let's talk about jackets and bags as some other applications that you can do. The Premium Plus material has a polyester adhesive, so if your jacket is a polyester-based product, you can apply it with Premium Plus. If you start to get into nylon jackets or different coated fabrics, you'll want to look for something with a nylon adhesive. For instance, Gorilla Grip 2 would be a good product that has a nylon adhesive, but with heat transfer films, it's possible to accommodate outerwear, bags, different types of items that are normally tough to screen print or tough to print otherwise. And you can see a collection here of different bags from canvas items. You can see the reflective material on a nylon windbreaker. So there's various possibilities. Now, of course, you need to have a heat press that can accommodate these items. So there's different print perfect pads or mouse pads, different things that you can use to build up the heat printing area. That way these buckles and zippers aren't getting in the way of your application. Or if you get a heat press like the Fusion that has a threadable design, you can actually unzip the bag, split it open, and thread that onto a smaller size platen. That way all of your zippers, seams, etc. are hanging off of the edge. And so that's kind of like a highlight tour of the various core finish materials and some of the things you can expect to accomplish with heat transfer films. And now the other thing we want to talk about is some unique finishes that you can create with the vinyl cutter and heat press, and this will kind of take you on a tour through some of the special effect materials and different markets that you can reach with those. And so in the glitter category, there are two types. There's a standard glitter, which is a smooth finish glitter, and then there's also a glitter flake material, which is a high density textured glitter. Now let's show you some photos of both of those. The glitter flake is, there's a lot of uses for it. One way that our customers are using it very successfully is to use it for fan apparel. So a number of sportswear suppliers such as Holloway and Augusta are offering fanwear versions of their jerseys that they sell for normal wear on the field. And so if you source some of these fanwear jerseys, there's not any requirements on decorating fanwear as far as meeting, certain types of colors that are allowed in certain sizes. So you can get creative and leverage glitter flake to create fan jerseys. One idea for this would be to go on site at a football game and print jerseys on demand, people walking into a booth, customizing a jersey in their team's colors, and you simply cut it, weed it, and heat apply it, decorating a garment pretty much every 5 minutes. You can also leverage glitter flake for different types of applications. Here we're showing you just a design on a cotton t-shirt or long sleeve t-shirt where we've combined multiple colors. You can see in this design that glitter flake is not layered directly on top of glitter flake because this is one of those products that you can only use as a foreground in two-color applications. So you can't put anything on top of glitter flake and have it be durable. It needs to apply directly to the garment or directly on top of another film, not on itself. Just giving you a close-up look of that material. Missed a slide here. Here's another example of combining glitter flake with gloss material, which we'll get to more soon. And this is actually a good example of what you shouldn't do with the material. You can see where the gloss is overlaid on top of the glitter flake. This isn't my shirt. It's one a customer sent in. So hopefully they've cut this area out in the artwork creation phase, and this gloss is applied directly to the garment because you certainly don't want to layer anything on top of the flake. Another example of how you can use it for fanwear by incorporating a logo and text element. A good way to get creative and get a two-color look without having to go layer on layer. The nice thing about glitter flake, it's pretty cost-effective as well. So I said a basic heat transfer film is about $0.01 a square inch. Glitter flake only jumps that up to about $0.015 per square inch for designs. So one strategy is if a customer comes in wanting, this basic Go Team design, let's say they want it in gray and pink, you can quickly show them their design in glitter and say, for $5 more, we can upgrade you to a glitter flake finish or whatever special effect finish you want and achieve a lot more margin for only a slight upcharge to your cost. Now here's the smooth glitter material. I will tell you that the glitter flake is a lot more popular, but I think the smooth glitter still does quite well because it's a little bit easier to see the cut lines and actually weed out at a faster speed than the glitter flake. But you can see that there's actually a silver glitter particle within the black material here on this close-up view. And you can apply, this material to any cotton or polyester fabric. You can also apply it to denim, as you can with all the products that we'll show you today. That covers some of the glitter finishes. Let's talk about some of the metallic or foil-like finishes that you're able to achieve with this process. There's ways to screen print foil, but the advantage of the heat-applied film workflow is for the low quantities that you wouldn't want to set up and screen print an adhesive base down to heat press foil on top of anyways, and that's where these materials come into play as those low to mid quantities for foil finishes. Here's an example of hologram, and let me show you a close-up view of that. So you can see it has that sparkle, that iridescent sparkle within the design. Hologram material is very cost-effective at about a penny per square inch. So a design like this that's about 8 by 8 in 2 colors would cost me about $1.25 to $1.50 in material cost to create. Add to it a few dollar garment, and you know, we're creating a finished piece for around $5 that we can sell to groups for $15 or retail one-offs for, you know, $20. Assuming you can automate the art through a templated program, or you're fast at creating art, this becomes a great way to do one-off t-shirts. Here's an example of the black hologram. And this shows you how you might combine a hologram look on top of glow in the dark, and I'll show you a sample of that later where we kick off the lights and you can see a glow. Hologram with metallic 2. Now the difference between hologram, it had that sparkle element to it. The metallic 2 is basically just a mirror-like finish, so it's straight foil available in about 10 different colors. And sometimes people just say, you know, they come in, they say they want that chrome sort of mirror look, and metallic 2 is a great part for that. Just showing you various examples of the metallic 2 product in action. Now the hologram and metallic 2, they have actual foil in the material, and to feel them on the garment, they have a little bit of a feel to them and a little bit brittle. And those are 2 of the products, actually the only 2 products that I'll show you today that aren't lab certified for 50+ washes. Those are usually about a dozen washes before you start to see breakdown, and we recommend a hang dry application. But if you want a very durable foil finish, this Fashion Film Electric is a nice alternative, which is the red layer that you see here. So it's not quite as bright of a mirror-like finish as the metallic 2, but you get a nice durable foil material. And here's an example of how you might implement Fashion Film Electric into a sports application. We've actually decorated a basketball warm-up jacket with a left chest logo here. You can see pretty fine detail. That's about a 4x4 logo. Very cost-effective to make. That's out of our electric prism. And then we've put the player's position out of electric prism over a number where we've leveraged the electric blue on a blue garment for a cool tone-on-tone look. So it's just something different that you can deliver to players or to teams that they're not used to seeing, or they're not able to get all the time from their current provider. Here's another niche product, which is gloss. It has a patent leather-like finish. And I really like this one for tone-on-tone looks. You can see where we've leveraged the pink gloss on a pink shirt, and this is almost a wet look on the garment. This was really popular in Europe, but it hasn't caught on quite that much here in the U.S. yet, but you still may find opportunities for the gloss material. Here we've leveraged the black gloss on top of a black shirt. And you can see how heat transfer films can also be applied directly over the seam. And so this is actually the side of the garment underneath the armpit area here, where we've done a wraparound print with the fadeaway design. And with heat transfer films, I mean, you can press them all at one time, or let's say, you know, you want to do a wraparound design or something that's a little large format, like say a tent or an awning, something like that. You can actually break up the pressing areas into sections on your heat press, as long as each area gets the recommended time, temperature, and pressure to reach the melting point of the adhesive. You can break it up into sections and peel the backing away all at the end. Okay, I have a question here. Question came in asking, can we cut this type of media on a roll in BN20 with the cut-only mode? What size is the roll? Very good question. The rolls that I'm showing here and the products I'm talking about all come 20 inches or smaller. So most heat transfer films in the market come in either 15 or 20 inch wide rolls, both of which would be compatible with the Roland VN20. Dana, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's accurate.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Okay. So let's show you that glow-in-the-dark material from earlier in action. Glow is a really nice material because it gives you the white finish in the daylight, and it charges underneath the sun's rays or natural lighting, and then it glows in the evening when you kick out the lights. So I've seen customers leverage this in a variety of ways. You know, I've even seen like shirts to go to the dance club decorated for clubs or bars or whatever, where they leverage the glow element as part of the design, and then only that part glows. So they've used a foreground that's a different material, so you can get kind of a two-tone outline look. You can also, you know, sell these. There's these blue laser pointers that tend to have a unique effect on the glow material. So it was popular for a while for people just to press a square of the glow material in front of a t-shirt, and when a kid would go to a party or play laser tag or whatever, when you hit the shirt with a line laser, it just glows in the area that's been lit up by the laser, assuming you keep it from charging, you know, throughout the course of the day until it turns nighttime. So that's a unique application. Here we've combined the glow material with CAD-CUT H2O, which I'll talk about momentarily. So you can see, you know, you have this type of design during the day. When you kick out the lights, you just can see the center design. Glow material is a little bit more expensive, but I think you can charge a premium for it. And as you might imagine, we see sales soar in this material leading up in the weeks and months leading up to Halloween. Now, I'm not sure how many embroiderers we have or people that are leveraging their vinyl cutters to do applique work, or may have laser cutters for applique work, but you can actually get a heat transfer film called flock or pebble puff that rivals direct embroidery or sewn-on twill. It's a nice alternative, and be able to create these types of garments that you might normally produce with applique or with direct embroidery just with a vinyl cutter and a heat press. So it completely eliminates the time it takes to digitize and set up and stitch everything. And so here's something that may look good with applique and a satin stitch. We've just combined 2 layers of flock, which the flock material that you see here is layerable. And you can see just, you know, flock on flock, a very easy application. Flock only costs about $1.50 a square inch. So the whole design you see on the shirt here may cost me about $3 in materials to produce for both layers, both parts of the design. Here we've done the same thing, but we've added a sleeve print in flock, and you can accommodate sleeves by just ordering a sleeve pillow. It's a Teflon material that's stuffed with a heat-resistant pillow-like material that gives it the dimension and the height, so you can thread that up into the sleeve, lay it on your press, and just heat press it. Sometimes it's unique to combine materials. In this case, we've put flock on top of reflective, which creates a unique result. So we encourage you to do some testing with the materials, mix and match for unique looks, and it'll just help you stand out from what everyone else is offering. This gives you just a close-up dimensional view on the flock and how it stands off the garment. It's actually a fuzzy texture to it. I know this is one of Dana's favorites, is where we leverage flock as an alternative to left chest embroidery. It's so quick and easy, and you can do a one-off garment, 6-piece order, whatever. I always give the example to our folks internally, how many small businesses that do you know that start up with 24-plus people? There's not many out there, which basically what I'm trying to get to with that comment is you're not going to have many small businesses ordering screen-printed garments because it doesn't make sense to screen print on these low-quantity runs. So it's a perfect opportunity for you to go out to small businesses in your region and leverage heat transfer films and CAD-CUT materials with your roll and cutter and your heat press and start to earn business in this kind of market space. There's a close-up of that result, so you can do pretty fine detail with the flock material as well. Pebble puff material is another unique material. I don't have a photo of it here, but I've actually utilized this material on the bottom of socks for my daughter, who's 3 years old. It kind of creates a non-slip surface on the bottom of socks. I put her initials and some hearts and star patterns, so it's just a unique way to use your cutter and grow sales. Show you a close-up here. This material starts flat. You utilize the same workflow: cut it, weed it, heat apply it. And in the heat application phase, you're just going to basically rest the press against the material for 20 seconds, and these puff capsules explode and give you this really nice dimensional look on the garment that's almost like high-density screen printing. I think this product does really well on fleece garments and hoodies that I'm showing it here on. And there's a really super close-up shot of utilizing the pebble puff on top of 3M reflective. So what I'm really hoping is at this point, you all have heat presses and the majority of you have vinyl cutters. I'm hoping I'm getting the gears turning on some new markets, new materials, new opportunities that you may be able to reach with this equipment that you already own. Reflective is a unique one, and this one's fresh in my mind because I just got done doing a presentation at an open house at our office in Canada, and 100+ businesses there. I asked the question, how many of you have ever used reflective heat transfer films? And I couldn't believe it. Not a single hand in the audience went up. And I don't think that, well, I know that's not because there's not a market for reflective materials. I just think overall businesses aren't really leveraging this material, trying it, putting it to work. So I think it represents quite a large opportunity for somebody to grab onto it and use it. And you can incorporate it into your normal sales cycle, into your normal target market in your area. So you can call on with reflective materials. You can see a pizza delivery guy here. Anybody that's working in the early mornings or late at night near the road that needs lit up for safety. You see the paramedic there, so any sort of emergency responders, municipalities, police, fire, landscaping crews, construction companies. I mean, the list goes on, and I would recommend just starting with a piece of notebook paper or a Word document and listing all the business types that you think can use reflective material. Go on to Google Maps in your zip code and type in, volunteer fire departments, and it will bring up an actual list of volunteer fire departments close by to your zip code, and you can go make sales calls to all of those with a reflective sample in hand. See an example with the towing company. And it's not always for businesses. It could just be for cycling or runners that are often along the road that need increased visibility. Sometimes it just takes, a square inch of reflective material for that particular person to be safe and be seen, and I think it's something that you should be showing in your business. And so those are a lot of the basic materials that are available in the range. We're seeing sales growth in just about every category, which means they're doing well out there in the market. It's just a matter of whether or not you're utilizing them for your business. And then here's another one I want to talk about, which is completely unique in what it delivers on the garment for this process, and that's called CAD-CUT H2O, CC H2O technique with a product we call Superfilm. Now what this does, it's a heat transfer film that you just cut, weed, and heat apply the same way as anything else, but it actually features a way you can heat the heat press up to a different set of settings and get this finish that's almost like discharge water-based screen printing where you can't even feel it on the garment. So, it's not something I would use to decorate like a team uniform with numbering, but there's a definite niche and market for these super soft, almost vintage distress type of designs on garments with teenagers and also with some of the more fashionable garments like burnout t-shirts, etc. So I can think of, small businesses it may appeal to, like aerobics classes, yoga classes, once again, bars, pubs, different things like that, restaurants. So let's give you a real close-up look. You can see how it actually almost blends into the fabric. And I've taken the black and applied it over the gray. Here, it's really good for full background designs. I did the shield out of the CAD-CUT H2O. That way I wouldn't have a big piece of vinyl or bulk on the garment. And then I've come over top of it with the smaller elements by adding the electric material and the flock. So it's just building layer on layer. And if you walk into any retail store, you'll see that screen printed garments out there in retail are doing the same thing. They'll start with like a discharge or water-based screen print as the bottom layer, and then they'll usually come over top of that with some sort of foil element, and then they'll finish it with either nail heads or flock or studs or just a normal print. But it's mixing media and building layer on layer, and it's just multiple steps with the heat press and with the cutter. This gives you a super close-up of the H2O result and how it blends into the fabric. And even closer. And there's another close-up shot of the design you just saw previously. And so with this process, it's 400 degrees, 20 seconds, and you hot peel the backing, and basically just the ghost image of the material stays behind. And it's not 100% opaque, which means it doesn't block light or the garment from passing through. So the finished result is also going to be impacted slightly by the color of the garment. So obviously if you're doing black CC-H2O Superfilm on a white shirt, it's going to look fine. It's going to be black because white's not going to impact that print. But if I look at that on the flip side and I'm doing white Superfilm CC-H2O on a black shirt, the black garment color is going to come through the white a bit, and it's going to tint it to be more of a gray finish. So hopefully everybody can understand that concept. And with that process, we have a lot of tutorial videos online that you can watch that shows this process in action. But this just shows you the finished result is greatly impacted by the applied pressure on the heat press. So let me repeat that. The finish that you see here in the print saturation, the darkness of the print, is impacted from the actual pressure on the heat press that you set. So you can see the beginning of the vampire design here with a very heavy pressure, and I'm getting a nice deep black and the maximum saturation for this process. The opposite of that is on the other side here on the yellow garment, where I've lightened up my pressure on my heat press to where it's basically the weight of the platen locking down, and I'm getting a more washed out distressed look. I'm not getting as much color saturation. So it's kind of cool in that from one roll you can get all these different finishes, so it really allows you to kind of streamline inventory while producing a high yield of different results for customers. So I'm going to stick on here and answer questions that may come up. I'm hoping you guys will type in some questions. We haven't had many come through so far. Or if you think of them, you can always call us or email us with those. But here's the specials that we have running. Don't want this to sound like a commercial to you, but I want to make sure for those of you that don't have the equipment that want to invest, here's the packages that are available, the 1-800 number down the bottom right corner where you can call to order this. And with that, I'll pass it back to Dana, and if you guys have questions, please type them in.
Okay, thanks Josh. Excellent presentation. Looks like our offer expires on the 22nd, so this is a limited time offer. 1-800-4STAHLS is the number if you have any other information. At this time, as Josh said, we'd like to open it up for questions. So if you have any questions regarding what Josh has spoken about today, please type them in the question box, and we'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah, and while we're waiting for it to roll in, I'm just going to launch the website here because I'm going to show you if you want to get follow-up info on the various materials. You can just go to CADCUTdirect.com. As long as my internet connection is going to move fast enough for me here. There we go. And on CADCUTdirect.com, you'll actually be able to scroll down and see some of the photos we've looked at here today. Each material that's available for your roll-and cutter that you can use with the heat press. And when you click on a material, for instance, hologram, it will actually give you all the pricing per yard, the colors available, some photos you can click through, and then application instructions right on the website, or you can download a PDF and videos of that particular material and how to use it. And all of our videos show the Hotronix Fusion heat press and the roll-and cutter in every one. So I think the only question that came in, Dana, is if the session will be available for review, and it will, correct?
Yes, today's webinar is being recorded and it'll be available after the broadcast. We will post it on our webinar library, and we'll also have it available for you, Josh, for your purposes.
Excellent. If there's no other questions, I appreciate you guys coming out, and Dana, thanks again for having me on.
Yeah, today was a very informative session. We'll process this recording. We'll get it up on the web so that you can review it again at your leisure. Thank you to all of you that joined our broadcast today. If you have any further questions, you can contact us at Roland Academy at rolanddga.com, or you can contact CADCUT Direct at 1-800-4-STAHLS. Please join us for our future webinars that can be reached at rolanddga.com/webinars. Have a good day, everybody.